Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Today, another topic which is very important regarding the animal diseases in Pakistan is zoonosis. So, special in with reference to World Trade Organization WTO Accord and different animal diseases which are prevalent in Pakistan. I will be talking with you on this topic. So I will try my best to make a clear understanding of this zoonosis. So what is zoonosis, reverse zoonosis, like that, and which kinds of zoonosis exist, I mean the origin, then which factors they cause this zoonosis, how we can prevent this from this zoonosis, and in the last, at last, I will be discussing different WTO accords and their relevance to zoonotic diseases which are prevalent in Pakistan. First of all, I will try my best to make a clear understanding of zoonosis. So, the word zoonosis, it's from Greek word. Zoon means animal, and noson means disease. So, diseases and infections which are naturally transmitted from vertebrate animals to humans. It's the definition by WHO since 1959. Or I would say any infectious disease that can be transmitted by a vector from animals, whether the animals are wild or domestic, to humans, or from humans to animals. So in the first stance, it's known as zoonosis, and if it's transmitted from humans to animals, it's known as reverse zoonosis. Another terminology is zoonosis, which is transmitted by transplantation between species. The classical or traditional concept is, I would say, animal with the disease and transmission of pathogen to man or human, like TB, tuberculosis, and brucellosis. And the modern or current concept means clinically normal animal, and it transmits the hazardous pathogen to human beings, like I would give an example of Campylobacter. So it can be said that 60% of the pathogens are zoonotic, and 75% of emerging diseases, they are zoonotic in nature, among which virus is most common. So more than 99% of the viruses, they remain to be discovered. And there is a huge potential for future zoonotic emergence of the diseases from animals to humans, or humans to animals. There are different emerging zoonotic diseases like swine flu, bird flu, Plasmodium knowlesi malaria, SARS, and mad cow disease. These are emerging zoonotic diseases. Um, the question is, how do human beings they become infected? So there are two, I would say, the kind of risk factors. The first one is the direct contact with of human being with these animal species, or indirectly, humans can be infected by the feces, urine, blood, and saliva of these with these diseases. They are the carriers for. So, who is at risk? The people who are at risk, they can have a direct or in which are having direct or indirect contact with the infected animals. They can be abattoir workers, They can be poultry workers, they can be farmers, they can be veterinarians who are treating these animals, and the pet owners, especially those who have birds and animals. And so there is a long list of carriers for this zoonosis, and which factors promote this zoonosis as frequent contact with domestic animals, overlap with wildlife habitat, poor animal sanitation, and poor personal hygiene of the human being, and intensive livestock production. They are the factors which promote zoonosis. So if we classify the etologically classify the zoonosis, it can be viral zoonosis, it can be bacterial zoonosis, parasitic and mycotic zoonosis. So let's talk about viral zoonosis. For example, a very famous influenza virus, bird flu, avian influenza. It's a viral zoonosis, which can be transmitted from birds to domestic birds to the human beings. And then is a SARS, which is a severe acute respiratory acute respiratory syndrome, SARS. And you may have heard of this syndrome, because nowadays, because Corona, COVID-19 is very common in worldwide. So in 2002, the condition SARS was spread. It spread in the Chinese population. So it's another zoonotic disease. Another one is rabies, for which dogs, cats, bats, and raccoons, they are the reservoir for this rabies virus, and this is transmitted through the saliva of infected animals. And in humans, it causes seizures, paralysis, and fever. Yes, and it's a Lissa virus, which is found predominantly in West Africa. The reservoir is red, and it's transmitted through contact with the infected urine and feces. So man-to-man transmission, it can occur through contact with the infected bodily fluids. Another zoonotic disease is West Nile fever, for which birds are the reservoir for West Nile virus, and it can be transmitted from mosquito bites. Bird, they picks up virus and then bites human. So human causes fever, flu-like symptoms, West Nile fever. And another the zoonotic disease is bovine spongiform encephalopathy, which is also known as mad cow disease, or BSE. Cattle is basically a reservoir for this disease condition, and is transmitted from eating the infected beef. And in human, it causes the neurological disorders that worsen over time. So for this condition is basically usually fatal, and only the supportive therapy can be helpful in this condition. In case of parasitic zoonosis, there are different conditions like toxoplasmosis, and for which pigs, cats, rats, deer, lambs, they are the reservoir for this single cell parasite called Toxoplasma gondii, and it's transmitted from through touching the infected cat feces, eating undercooked meats like this. And in human, it causes flu-like symptoms. So newborn, if babies, if they are infected through their mother, they can suffer eye and brain damage with this issue. There is another zoonotic disease, fungal infection. This is ringworm. Any surface which is contaminated with the fungus is the source or reservoir for this ringworm. and can spread. So if we talk about bacterial zoonosis, is like, for example, tuberculosis, Mycobacterium bovis. It's cattle is the reservoir for this disease, for this germ or pathogen, and it can be transmitted through foodborne unpasteurized milk and raw meat, and aerosol transmission is also there. Uh, Anthrax, we already studied. The causal organism is Bacillus anthracis, and I would say its transmission occurs through the inoculation of infected blood to broken skin and consumption of a diseased animal's flesh. If you don't know the animal is infected with anthrax, and you eat the flesh of this animal, the meat of this animal, then definitely you are going to have this condition. And it causes pulmonary and gastrointestinal issues in human beings. Brucellosis, which normally causes the abortion in animals. It's uh, Bacillus abortus in cattle, and melitensis in goat and sheep, and canis in dog. These all are pathogens, human pathogens. They are more virulent, or melitensis. And these are small, non-motile, uh, kind of bacteria, and all the animals are the source or reservoir for this bacteria. Uh, there are some other issues which are, also transmittable to humans. So there can be cat scratch if you have cats as a pet animal, and so the cat scratch disease is also found and can cause zoonosis. Lyme's disease, mycotic zoonosis are also there. So I would say the different diseases are being transmitted from one species to another species, especially the human beings. So causes the zoonosis. So how we can prevent these diseases to um, from spreading from vertebrate animals to human beings? First of all, if you have pets, you have to keep your pet away from other stray dogs, because stray dogs are also reservoir for most of the diseases which are zoonotic in nature. Secondly, vaccination of the animals is very important. Whether you have farm animals, whether you have pets, whether you have birds, you have to do the vaccination against specific diseases in order to avoid these zoonosis. If you face the wild animals, you have to maintain a specific distance from these wild animals, and also prevent bats from living places. And if you face the rabies, so for that I have discussed many things with you about how to avoid the rabies. If we talk about the treatment of this, I would say these zoonotic conditions. First of all, the people who are considered as high risk group, they need pre-exposure prophylaxis. So in this group, I discussed with you the veterinarians, the animal handlers, lab workers. They all need the pre-exposure prophylaxis. And if after the exposure, you can do wash the wound and scratches, or if you are facing rabies, you need to rabies vaccine or its antidotes are being administered to the affected individuals. So these are some basic zoonotic diseases and their spread to human beings. Or I have discussed with you the reverse zoonosis or xenozoonosis. So, what are the WTO accords and their relation with the zoonotic diseases which are prevalent in Pakistan? Most of the diseases which I have discussed with you, whether they are from viral origin, they are from bacterial origin, whether they have a parasitic or mycotic origin, should avoid, the human must prevent from these zoonotic infections. So, World Trade Organization has some related aspects of like intellectual property rights, which is known as TRIPS, and sanitary and phytosanitary measures have been given by the WTO to all the countries or the member countries. So, understanding the World Trade Organization's sanitary and phytosanitary measures is very important in combating these zoonotic issues. So there is a long list of these measures involving the protection, involving the different adopting the conditions, alternative measures, the risk assessment, and many other measures which are, I mean, which need to be uh, adopted and followed, which have been given by the World Trade Organization. So I think that was all about this topic. Thank you very much.